Can you hear me or should I use the microphone? Okay. So I like moving around, I like moving my hands, so that's going to be really difficult if you stand in one place, all right? But thank you very much, Mayor Lambert. Thank you for welcoming me to your beautiful city. I always love coming up here. I am not a vandal, but I was actually on the board for the law school for a long period, for about 2 or 3 years, and I have always enjoyed the law school, and I've enjoyed my association with the University of Idaho Law School, and I've always enjoyed coming up here and visiting the town. Well, thank you for being here. I'm going to be really brief. I love doing these town hall meetings. I love them because I get to hear from you, so that's why I'm not going to speak a lot. You're going to hear a lot from me, but it's going to be mostly answering your questions. You know, 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to run for Congress because I thought that we had a problem in Washington, D.C. You had a spending problem, you had a lack of leadership in Washington, and I thought that we needed fresh ideas and a new direction in Washington. And I went back there, not to be a partisan, but I do have a definite ideology, and I do have a definite idea on how we should be doing things. If anybody knows me, anybody who knows me knows that I attack my side as much as I attack the other side. I'm the kind of person that decides that we should do the right things, and we should do the right things for the right reasons when we're in politics. I had a pretty good life before I was in politics. I was a pretty successful attorney. I have a beautiful family. I live in a beautiful home. I live in a beautiful part of the state. And it would have been easier for me to actually stay home and to actually just continue to live the life that I was living. But I thought that I had a moral responsibility to actually do something, and that comes from my background. I was fortunate enough to be raised by a wonderful woman. She was a single mom, and I was her only child. And she taught me from my youth, growing up in Puerto Rico, that I had 2 responsibilities in life. First, it was to make something of myself. And once I had made something of myself, second, I had a moral responsibility to give back to the community and to serve. She grew up in an era, and many of you are probably Democrats here, she was a JFK Democrat. She grew up in an era where actually, you know, when you spoke of public service, public servants were actually, politician was not a bad word. It was, you were talking about people who were dedicating their lives to the service of their community. I came from that background, I've come from that experience in my life, and just like her, I believe that public service is a noble calling, and I believe that it's the right thing to do. So you might not always agree with my positions, you might not always agree with the things that I say, but please know that I do come from a mindset that what we're doing is we're trying to improve what's happening here in America. What we're trying to do is we're trying to do the things that will actually bring us together as a nation. In fact, I even went to a Ted Kennedy rally when I was a small kid when he was running for president. So I have been at those things. So anyway, it's just really a tremendous honor to be here with you. We have a list of people, and we want to get to all of you. So what I ask you, please, is to be respectful, not just of me, but respectful of the people that are asking the questions. If you don't agree with their questions or their comments, keep it to yourself. Let them, you know, have the opportunity to actually, I mean, you can boo me if you want, but don't do it to the audience members who may agree or disagree with you. And second, make sure you only ask one question. You know, people get to the microphone and say, well, I have 5 questions. Well, if everybody asks 5 questions, we're not going to be able to get to every single person that is here. So think about the questions that you have and try to ask them one that you think is the most important. Anyway, thank you very much for being here tonight.
Congressman, the first name I have on the list is Lee, and I believe it's Hornings. Is that correct?
Okay.
Yeah, no question.
Oh, no question. Oh, okay.
I'm listening.
Hey, thanks. The night's going to be much better if everybody has that answer.
Luke Spray has a question mark.
No question.
Oh, okay. Then we're going to Mr. Roberteisenberg. All right.
Start here, over there.
Okay. If you'd like to use the mic, that'd be great.
Good to go. I even took the time to write it down so I wouldn't screw it up. Sir, what is your position on the XM Bank? And will you let its charter just expire on the 30th of September upcoming, or are you going to support some wind down legislation that is needless? In my opinion?
I wonder what your position is. I do support the expiration of the XM Bank, but you need to understand what the expiration means. Expiration is actually a wind down, because it's not like a regular bank that, you know, if your community bank closes tomorrow, that means the bank is closed. And anyone who had loans with that bank is going to be moved to another bank or anything like that. If the XM Bank expires at the end of the month, what's going to happen is that the people that actually have loans with the bank will continue to be serviced by the bank. So it will be some sort of wind down, and it will actually not be something that is automatic. Now, the reality is that I'm going to support whether it's expiration or wind down, whatever comes to the House floor. It's not my area. I'm not an expert on financial services. I don't serve on the committee. Whatever comes out of the Financial Services Committee, as long as it includes a wind down and an eventual expiration of the bank, I will support. I'm not sure exactly what's going to come out. The Financial Services Committee continues to work on XM legislation, and we haven't seen the final bill yet. Anyway, thank you for the question.
The next question comes from Harper Jones. Mr. Jones?
Thank you for your support of Farm Bill this spring. We really appreciate that. That's a big part of the farm community here. Thank you very much.
All right.
The creation of a special class of people here in the country that are exempt from the laws of the nation strike at our foundation of our society. And I oppose any efforts to legitimize lawbreaking. This is in terms
Are you talking about immigration?
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay, so did everybody hear the question? Okay, if I could ask you all, I'm going to repeat his question. If you could, can we move the microphone up a little bit so it goes enough forward? If you could go to the, just like I'm speaking into the microphone and I can't move, I'm going to ask you to go to the microphone and ask a question. He asked about immigration, whether I would support granting special rights to people that have violated the law, and I assumed from the question that it was about immigration. As most of you know, I was an immigration lawyer for 15 years, so I know a little bit about immigration law, just a little bit. And I believe that the first thing we have to deal with is our border security, our border control. We don't have enough security and enough resources at the border, and in fact, some of the resources that we're using, we're not utilizing them the right way. This administration at this time is actually telling some of the border patrol agents to do catch and release, which I think is not the right thing to do. But I do support immigration reform, and I want to make sure that people understand what immigration reform means, because when you hear in the media immigration reform, it means granting amnesty to 11 million to 12 million people. That's not immigration reform. Immigration reform is reforming the current immigration system so you can modernize it so we can actually use it, because right now we have a system that we cannot use. And so I want to be able to allow people to come to the United States legally, instead of having, because some people don't want any more immigration, and I'm opposed to that. I want more immigration. I think it's good to have, we are an immigrant nation, we're a nation of immigrants, and I think immigrants should be welcome to the United States, but they should do it the right and proper way. They shouldn't do it illegally. So what I would do is I would first control the border, do what we need to do with E-Verify, do the things that we need to do with the technology to make sure that people are no longer coming into the United States illegally. But second, I would also create a guest worker program that actually works. We don't have a guest worker program that works. Right now, the high-tech industry, it's very difficult for us to get people to stay in the United States. So what we're doing is, you're educating them here at the University of Idaho, and they're going to Canada to work. And they're actually becoming our competitors. So we train them, and they go to Canada to actually compete against us. I think that's a ridiculous proposition. So we need to reform that. We need to make it easier for the agricultural community to bring people legally to the United States. We need to make it easier for the dairy industry to bring people to the United States. So if we do that, we do security, a guest worker program, a modernized guest worker program, then we can talk about what happens with those 12 million people that are here. What I would suggest is that there's a law right now, and it's kind of a complicated issue, but it's a really simple issue. The law says that if you go back to your home country and you want to come legally, you have to stay in your home country for 10 years. I would remove that. I would say, hey, if the people want to do it the right way, let them go back to their home country and then return legally to the United States. You remove that bar, and you will have most of the people that are here right now illegally will go back to their home country and find the legal way to come back to the United States. That way, we can take care of the people that are here in a humane way, but we don't allow lawbreakers to get special benefits by coming into the United States illegally. That would be my solution. Next.
Congressman.
Just call them out from back there. Who?
Mike Coleman, Mr. Coleman.
And actually, what you should do is say who's up on deck as well, so they can get ready.
The next person would be Kathy Judson.
Okay.
My question is, what is the most significant thing that you've accomplished during this session?
That's a great question. There's been a lot of things that I think we have accomplished during this session, but I think the most significant thing is actually, it pertains to the question that this gentleman just asked, is moving the debate on immigration from a debate only on amnesty to a debate on what we need to do with our broken immigration system. And I think that comes from the fact that I actually understand probably the immigration system as well as anybody in Congress. And actually getting some of the members from my own party who may have been a little bit close-minded on immigration to actually start saying, yeah, we do need to do some of those things. We need to modernize the immigration system. We need to have proper border security. And that instead of saying no on everything on immigration, that we're actually bringing proactive ideas on immigration. I think that's probably been the most significant. And that's a huge issue. If you think about it, for 30 years we've done nothing about immigration. And now we're hoping that we can actually get something done and that we do it the right way so we can actually get that problem solved. But thank you for the question.
Ms. Judson. Oh, that's great. The next
Yeah, I'm just wondering why you would want to support legislation for the Upper Lochsaw Land Exchange, given the fact that 95 to 98% of the public adamantly opposes it.
You know, I have not seen the evidence of that, and I would like to see what your evidence is that 95 to 98% of the public supports it. I haven't seen any issue. I mean, if you're right about that, and I'm not disputing it, I just haven't seen that evidence. If you're right on that issue, that's pretty important. I support land exchanges in general. You know, the Lochsaw exchange, it's taken a long time, and I haven't supported any legislation yet because there hasn't been any legislation introduced. But I do support the process. I think we've done a pretty good job of asking the community members to get together, the interested parties to get together, and for people to actually tell us what they think. There's been several drafts of the legislation, and each draft has come after having a meeting with some of the local interested parties. But I would really like to see the data that you have with 95% of the people actually oppose the Lochsaw land exchange. I'm not doubting it, I just haven't seen it. So.
Yeah, it's under freedom of information, we requested all comments.
That doesn't mean that 95% of people, just because 95% of the comments are against it, doesn't mean that 95% of people are against it. You know, if I get on immigration reform, I could have 95% of the people send me a letter to say that they want amnesty for illegal immigrants, and that doesn't mean that 95% of my constituents want that result. So I don't know that that's scientifically based, but let me know if you have some data that we can look at. I would love to look at that. But there's no final legislation yet. I do support, I have no problem with land exchanges in principle and in general. And I think if we can actually use one piece of land for something that is valuable and exchange it for something else, I think we should be supportive of it. But that's why the process has been so long, because we've actually been wanting to receive the input from people like yourself who are interested in the issue. So thank you very much.
Mr. Ray Anderson, and following him will be Mr. Vince Murray.
Sir, I understand